What's up, everybody? Sloppy Joe here. With a lot of the chatter that's been going on a couple of videos I posted about my wife shooting up in the mountains, kind of got me thinking. I have never reviewed, talked about, acknowledged our SGL-21. And now that I've got it in a configuration and a setup that I really am thrilled with, I figured I might as well show what we got here. Talk a little bit about where it started. The rifle was bought in 2010, brand new, and it was just typical black SGL-21. There was nothing special about it. And then I swapped the handguard and rail and went with a not the rail, the top gas tube, the gas tube hand grip. I went with a Midwest Industries quad rail. Swapped out the black plastic stock. Went to a Tapco 6-position. And I know Tapco is what Tapco is, but for what I was doing, which is more or less experimenting, it did its job. It worked out well where my wife could shoot with it completely collapsed, and then I could stretch it out for myself when I wanted to shoot, especially when we were shooting optics, because you need your eye relief, and it worked well for that. But about a year ago, I started. Actually, I should say about a year and a half ago, I started going back to traditional. I got rid of the quad rail, sold it, and along with being very heavy, I found that it also made accuracy suffer. In my estimations, we lost a fair bit of accuracy, especially shooting at 100+ yards. And that might have had something to do with the way it clamped to the barrel or the weight of it on the barrel, who knows. But unknowingly, I had swapped back to a plum. I went from black and I got a plum plastic handguard. Put it on an Ultimac, and when I put on the Ultimac, in our shooting, and my wife is a very good bench shooter. She shoots off a bench way better than I can. And when we swapped to this Ultimac, we found that we gained back, or should I say, improved on the stock accuracy by about a ½ an inch at 100 yards, to where my wife with an optic could shoot inch and a quarter groups, and shooting open sights, she could keep it under 3 inches, if she really was trying. I shoot a little bit fatter than that. My eyes are not as good as hers. She's 10 years younger than me, so her eyes are near perfect, or mine are never been good, and they're getting worse. But when I decided to start going to a traditional 74 style rifle, I decided to keep the Ultimac, because I really believe, sometimes I use it for a red dot, but I believe in the fact that, from what I've seen, I think it's an accuracy gainer. So I've left it on there. I'm not that worried about traditional look. If I know a piece of kit has given me some accuracy, and I've shot I don't even know how many thousands of rounds, and it's continued to be as accurate as it is, I know it can't just be us. I know there was something gained when we put this on there. So that stays. The next thing we did was I acquired this Bulgarian AK-74 surplus wood. It was unissued. Didn't even color it. I just threw on a little clear varnish just to give it a little shine. It was a little dull when I got it. And it came out real well. That was it. 6 months ago, I started buying up Bakelite mags. So I've got like a dozen or so of those laying around. And then when we were in Ukraine a month ago for I was with my wife visiting her family. We stopped at a gun store, and the guys there had taken some AKs and kind of gone, through some tactical stuff on modern stuff. And so they had spare bits laying around, and they had this Bakelite grip and a wood AKM grip that they gave me for nothing. They just, you know, said, hey, fellow shooter, American, here, have some AK parts. I'd mentioned to them that I was trying to build a traditional looking AK, so hey, they had the parts. I happily accepted, and no problems with customs. So other than that, it is just an SGL-21 made to look like an AK-74. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's not the first. I'm not the first person to do this. I've seen them all over the place on YouTube and things like that. So by all means, I'm not a trendsetter. But it's my rifle, and what is it? And Full Metal Jacket. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And hey, I enjoy the hell out of this rifle. Like I said, we've got thousands of rounds through it, and it has never failed to fire. It has never jammed. It has never stovepiped. And no feed issues. No jam. Just nothing. It just shoots. Rack in a magazine, cock it, pull the trigger, and it just goes. And for cleaning, I run boiling water down the barrel and stuff, throw some CLP in it, little hops 9 if it's really gummed up and I've really been shooting a lot that day. Run a bore snake, maybe some patches if it's really cruddy, but other than that, I just run a bore snake down it and call it good. Throw a little oil on there. I like to run, I like to put white lithium grease on the rails in here, and other than that, and I think that's something Jim Fuller recommends as well at Rifle Dynamics. I think he likes to use the white lithium grease on the rails inside on the bolt carrier and everything. So I do that. But other than that, it's a lot of guys complain about the finish being delicate, and it kind of is, but mine's held up pretty well. There's some score marks where the empty shells eject and whack the receiver. Who cares? The muzzle device, a lot of guys complain about it because it's not chrome lined, and I've got no rusting or corrosion issues or anything with it. The only thing I did is unknowingly, shortly after I bought the rifle, I used some real heavy solvent to clean it, and it chewed the paint right off of it. So all I did was just get some ceramic paint from the auto parts store and sprayed it, threw it in the oven, and baked it. And for the last 2.5 years, it's held up. Again, no rust, no flaking, nothing like that. There's a couple areas where I've whacked it and chipped paint, but as far as wearing off or cooking off from shooting or solvent or gunpowder and gases, it's fine. There's no issues there. Other than that, I guess I could open it up just for grins and giggles. But I mean, so you can see it's an AK. There's nothing special about it. Like I said, I like to run white lithium grease on the inner rails. I think it just gives it a little bit slicker of a surface, and it gives me a little bit of peace of mind. But other than that, it goes, it shoots, it bangs. Stock trigger. I have not replaced the trigger with anything. I do have a Red Star Arms trigger in my PSL, which I really like, fully adjustable. But I really actually like the Arsenal trigger group. I might just be used to it, but I find it very predictable. I don't have any issues with it. I shoot with gloves on. Sometimes I shoot without, but I've never had any issues with it. So I'll just leave it as is. Who cares? I shoot it well. That's all that matters. My wife shoots it well. That's good too. If anything ever happens, she's totally confident with this rifle. Other than that, I mean, hey, there's a million videos about SGL-21s and SGL-31s. The only thing I would say to anyone who is looking at buying one or trying to get one, there's the big stink about FIME, the name FIME, F-I-M-E, being on the rifles now. And Arsenal possibly not making the SGLs, at least the Russian ones, but the Arsenal still making Bulgarian, who knows. So I don't know if that's a deterrent or not. I don't I don't know. I wouldn't really care. I think these are fine quality rifles, and they probably still are under the FIME name. So I wouldn't worry about it. But for anyone looking to get into an SGL, I think it's as true to what the Russians and the Ukrainians and those guys had and still have in a lot of cases. I think it's as true as a representation as we're ever going to see in the United States. I have seen real ones and held real ones in Ukraine. And, you know, they look and feel the same. The difference is they've got a little notch here for full auto. And I had seen one in Ukraine where all the bakelite was green. It was actually pretty ugly. But anyway, other than that, no, the only other thing I would say is stick with 7.62 by 39. Do not buy 5.45. Yes, it's a little bit shooting, a little better trajectory, a little better velocity, behaves more like a 5.56. But the Russians themselves are talking about making a push back towards the 7.62. The Spetsnaz Special Forces, they prefer 7.62. It sounds like most of the regular army would prefer 7.62. And even General Kalashnikov himself, a number of years ago, he was never in support of the 5.45 round. That was something the Russians did in response to us in Vietnam, switching to the 5.56 with the M16s. So it was more of a, they didn't want to feel like they were falling behind and having inferior old weaponry. But there's something to be said with the way it all, the rifle, the ammo, the ammunition that it shoots is put together. And I think the 7.62 39 round, this rifle, kind of match made in heaven. I mean, they really are a good combination. So I would say if you're looking at buying one, stick with 7.62. I think it'll always be available. Always, always, always be available, whether in surplus or new. 5.45, I think it'll slow. My guess is within a decade, the Russians phase it out and might use it in small batches or for police departments or border patrol, things like that. But I would think the military, my guess is they would switch almost back to 7.62. That's kind of my feeling on it, but I could be wrong. Other than that, it's an SGL-21. Nothing special. We enjoy shooting it. We like it. Don't intend on ever getting rid of it. My grandkids will probably be shooting it long after I'm dead in dust. So that's about it. If anyone has any questions about anything they see here, about any of the equipment that I've had on this rifle in its lifetime, any pros, cons, anything specific, feel free to post up a comment, and I'll do my best to see it and answer it. And other than that, hey, thanks for watching. And hopefully we'll see you guys out there this summer shooting. And that's it. Enjoy. Talk to you guys later.